Hey everybody, it's Coach Matt Ellis, EliteThrowsCoaching.com, and in today's video, I'm going to be taking you through some sample dynamic effort workouts, the way that we run it with our Conjugate system here in the gym, and the way I think coaches out there should run it with their throwers and their other track and field events that they might coach. Today, I'm just giving you sample workouts. So if you do have questions about kind of the technique of this method, if you do have questions on how to schedule it, how many days you're in the weight room, how many days you're out on the field, go check out the previous videos that we did talking about that. Today is just samples and when you're going to put those in during your normal training week. So just like we did with our max effort work that we talked about the past couple of weeks, there are some rules to keep in mind as you program your dynamic effort or your speed work into your training. The first thing that we want to make sure is that you're doing all of your dynamic work out at the track. We said it before in previous videos, but in a normal Conjugate system, you're in the weight room 4 times a week. You're doing 2 max effort days and 2 dynamic effort days, 2 speed days. We don't have the time to do that as track and field coaches. We have meets that pop up during the week. We need to get outside and actually practice our events. We can't spend 4 days a week in the weight room. It just doesn't work out that way. We should be outside practicing, throwing as much as we possibly can. So all of your dynamic effort work is going to be outside at the track. The other thing is that all of your dynamic effort work is going to be done after throwing. So if a typical day looks like, you warm up as a team, then you break off into your different throwing events, you get in all the throws that you want to do, work on the technique you wanted to work on that day, then you do this workout. Same thing with max effort. You go from the warm up to practicing the event to going in the weight room. Same thing, this is going to be done on days where you do not have a meet, obviously, and this is going to be done on days that are not max effort days. The worst thing you could do is take an entire day of working out without throwing. So what I mean by that is a group warm-up, team warm-up, and then you go do your max effort work, and then you go outside and you do your speed work. That's not good. We need to separate these days. As long as you're following these rules, everything works out. So what I've done here down at the bottom, giving you a couple of typical sample weeks of training during your season. The top example is more of a championship meet setting where you have your championship meets that happen on the weekends, normally Friday or Saturday, and we'll show you what that looks like. So you have your meet on Saturday. What we're going to do is we're going to have our max effort lower body on Monday. Again, that's your heavy squat day. We want that as far away from the meet as possible. Tuesday is just going to be a day to go outside and get in as many throws as possible. Wednesday, you're going to do your max effort upper body work. And then Thursday, you've got your dynamic effort lower body and your dynamic effort upper body before the meet. And yes, that's totally okay. It's not a bad thing to do the speed training before the meet. Totally okay. The bottom example is going to be more for the middle of your season, where you may have, for example, a dual meet on a Wednesday and then another dual meet or a really small invite or something like that on the Saturday. Now keep in mind, weeks that look like this, you typically have meets that don't matter that much. Again, a dual meet in the beginning of the season, a tiny little invite, maybe it's not even a state qualifying meet on that Saturday. We're going to do max effort lower body on the Monday. Again, we're going to keep it far away from the meets as possible. Dynamic effort upper body, we're going to do on the Tuesday. So you're going to see we're going to max effort lower, dynamic effort upper. Then we've got your max effort upper. Again, about 48 hours later, your dynamic effort lower, and then you've got your meet. So again, totally okay to do your dynamic effort work, especially when we have a meet coming up at the end. Now, if you make it to your big championship meets, your state championship, your division championship, your New England, your regional, whatever that might be, you may want to combine these two into one day. So it might be max effort lower body on the Monday, throwing all day on Tuesday, max effort upper body on Wednesday, and then a combination dynamic effort lower body and upper body that's going to happen on Thursday. And then Friday you can either rest or you can do some very light throwing to get you prepared for the big championship meet on Saturday. As long as you stick to these rules, and they're pretty simple rules to follow, you're all good. And what you're going to see is that the dynamic effort workouts that we're going to be talking about, those workouts that we're talking about are a lot of the things that you know you should already be doing that you probably think you either don't have time or that you think aren't as important as they are. We're going to show you exactly how to put that into your weekly schedule to make sure your athletes are getting as much out of it as possible. All right, so here's a really good sample of what I would consider a typical dynamic effort lower body workout that you would do at the track. Now, as you notice, there's no dumbbells, there's no barbells, very minimal equipment needed, everything that you should already have, everything that a very typical high school and especially college track and field program will already have. So your main movement, the main exercise of the day is going to be something like a box jump. Obviously, you've got different height boxes for the different level athletes that you work with. Lower box for beginners, medium box for the intermediates, high box for the advanced athletes. We're going to be doing anywhere from 9 to 12 rounds of about 2 to 3 jumps. So remember, we are being explosive, and when we are explosive, there is an element of speed to the movement. So we don't want to do something like 12 jumps in a row. 3 sets of 15 jumps in a row. What's that athlete going to look like by the time that 10th, 12th, 15th jump happens? Well, he's not going to look that good. He's going to be slowing down. The form and technique is going to get sloppy, and there's not going to be any explosion to it. It becomes more of an endurance movement at that point, and we cannot have that if we are trying to build speed and explosion. The movements need to be short and quick and explosive. So doing something like 10 jumps in a row just to get it over and done with is not good. You want to do about 9 to 12 rounds of 2 to 3 jumps with about a minute rest in between. So again, we're looking at about 10 minutes of work here when it's all said and done. After that, we're going to move on to a secondary exercise, something like a jumping lunge. Jumping lunge, 3 to 4 rounds of about 4 to 5 jumps per leg. So again, jumping lunge, you're going to get in a lunge position, jump in the air out of that lunge position as high as possible, switch your feet in midair, land in a lunge position, and then repeat. The actual exercise itself, if you did 5 repetitions per leg, it's probably only going to take you about 10 seconds. And with a minute rest in between, again, we're looking at about 5 minutes or so before you're done. So total, we've got about 15 minutes of work put in here. Not a whole lot of time. Med ball overhead throws. I like the behind the head overhead throws where you're squatting down, exploding with the legs, getting full extension with the legs, getting up on the toes, getting the hips up, and throwing the ball backwards over your head to a partner. Something like that, we want to get approximately 24 throws in. Now look, there's a lot of different med ball throws. There's a lot of things that are out there. These are just examples. You may have favorites. You might want to do a hurdle hop instead of a box jump. You might want to do a repeat jumping squat instead of a jumping lunge. I don't really care, just as long as your athletes are being explosive and it's a lot of lower body work, that's cool with me. But for something like a med ball throw, we want to stick to about 24 throws. That's a good average number. You can do that by 6 sets of 4 throws. Works really good if you're throwing it to a partner. 8 sets of 3 if you're using a heavier med ball. 10 sets of 2 if maybe you have a lot of kids and you've got to cycle through quickly, or 12 sets of 2, great earlier on in the year, when your athletes have a little bit more time and when it's not really big meet season. You can pick a heavier med ball or you can pick a lighter med ball to use with a lot of different athletes. 12 sets of 2, cycle through it pretty quick. And to finish it off, we're going to do some short sprinting. Short sprinting, looking at about maybe 30-40 meters, and we're going to do that. We're going to repeat that 6 times. So we're going to do a 30-meter sprint, walk back, maybe get in the back of the line if you have a big group of kids. Next kid's going to go, next kid's going to go. The amount of rest that they get is just how long it takes to get to the front of the line again. But again, we're looking at maybe a combined time of a half an hour if you do this correctly, if you stay nice and efficient and you keep your athletes moving. 30-minute workout, 4 exercises, all explosive stuff, all stuff that you probably know you should be doing, but you just think you don't have time to do, or it's not the fun stuff that your kids want to do. This is going to make a massive, massive difference. And again, as long as you set it up, that's why I left this down here, as long as you set it up correctly, your athletes are going to get a huge benefit. They're not going to be exhausted. They're not going to be tired before their meets because they're going to be doing this all year round, and they're going to be doing this all season long. As long as they keep doing it all season long, it's not like they're going to be tired doing a dynamic effort upper body workout the day before a meet because they've been doing it for 4, 8, 12 weeks at that point, whatever it's been. It's just going to be a normal routine thing for them. Now, if they haven't done any of this all season and you throw some stuff before their meet, yeah, they're going to feel like crap. But this is why you have to be consistent with this, and you have to make sure you do this every single week so that your athletes get in good shape. They can take all these throws, they can get really explosive, and then they can PR and have a really, really great season. And finally, we're going to take a look at what a typical dynamic effort upper body day looks like out at the throwing circles. Here's what we've got. Medicine ball throws. We're gonna do some type of med ball throw that is specific to your event. So for a shot put or a one-arm medicine ball throw with one arm at a time, or you can do both arms at the same time, both hands at the same time. For your discus throwers, they make med balls that have handles. You can do different types of discus throw, mimicking that movement. Using that type of ball. Javelin throwers, you can do different types of overhead throws. Hammer throwers, you have different types of med ball throws that you can do going side to side. So again, there's hundreds of different examples. You guys can search online to find all different types of med ball throws that you can do. There have been literally dozens of videos and hundreds of YouTube videos, and you're good on that, believe me. If you're a track coach, you probably know your med ball throws. After that, we're going to do some type of an explosive push-up. So for your advanced athletes, that might be an explosive push-up on the ground, like a clapping push-up. For your intermediate and beginner athletes, that might be some type of an elevated push-up on a plyo box or on some type of a bar that you have set up near the track. Again, we're looking at about 3 to 4 rounds. 4 to 5, shouldn't say per leg. 3 to 4 rounds of about 4 to 5 push-ups. Band work to mimic throwing. So this is where you're going to take one of your typical elastic bands, super bands, stretch bands. Again, they're super cheap. Your school should already have them. If not, you should buy them. You're going to attach that band to the throwing cage. You're going to attach that band to a post or a tree or whatever you have near your circle, and you're going to do band work to mimic the throws. Again, getting more volume, more repetitions, working on good technique, but using the band instead. And then high repetition band work for your rear delts and your upper back. These are things like face pulls and band pull aparts. Again, you don't need to be in the weight room to do those. You might as well get them done. But doing a lot of high repetition band work, I'm talking about 4 sets of 30, 3 sets of 50, 4 sets of 25, somewhere in that 100 rep range, so that we're building up the rear delts. In throwing, it's a lot of push, 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 shove, 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 a lot of upper body, kind of chest and shoulder work. We want to do a lot of work for the upper back and the rear delts to make sure that we're staying injury free, to make sure that we're building up that part of the body as well, so there's no muscle imbalances. So you do want to try to pull twice as much as you push as a general rule of thumb. So if you are a pushing athlete, a discus thrower, javelin thrower, shot putter, you do want to do a lot of pulling movements just to keep your shoulders healthy. And really, that's it. Again, guys, this is something where you're going to do it out at the circle. You're going to do it with your team. This is probably the stuff that you know you should be doing that you think you either don't have time to do or you think isn't valuable, so you just sort of do it if you happen to have time one week. This is something you need to program in. Again, med ball throws, 9 to 12 rounds. What's that take? 10 to 15 minutes. Explosive push-ups, 3 to 4 rounds. What does that take? 5-6 minutes. Band work to mimic throwing are very, very quick. You can get that done in about 2 to 3 minutes. High repetition band work for the rear delts, again, 2 to 3 minutes. We're taking minimal rest between sets. We're looking at what? 20, 25 minutes total work, maybe a half an hour if your throwers are moving slowly. It's not a lot of time to ask during the week, especially when your athletes are out there and they probably want to go in the weight room, or they're at the end of their week and they're kind of sick and tired of throwing and they need something different to do to keep it interesting, to keep it fun. It's a great way of doing it. So that is how you structure your max effort days and your dynamic effort days, both upper and lower body, and how you use a conjugate system for a sport like throwing. You can see how you can tweak and adjust this and make this different for all of your different levels of athletes, your beginners, your intermediates, your strong kids, your not so strong kids. You can really just mix this up and play with it and give them some different variety where they're still getting stronger, they're still getting faster, more explosive, but they're doing it all together throughout their season. All right, that's what I got for you today. Stay tuned for another blog post next week on the conjugate system. It's probably going to be our last one. We're going to put all this together and show you exactly what it looks like, and you guys will be all set. So again, if there's any questions, go to EliteThrowsCoaching.com. Make sure to check out everything that we offer there, all the previous blog posts, products, camps, clinics, all that fun stuff. And if there's any questions, there's a contact form. Email me, comes directly to me, or you can leave a comment right underneath this YouTube video. Thanks again for watching. See you next week.